Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for watching. Much appreciated. Thank you for subscribing. Today what we're going to do is we're going to we're going to go over one of the great mysteries of web designing and web development and software engineering, and that is how to center a div with CSS. We're going to do it two ways. We're going to do it one with raw straight up CSS. The second way is I'm going to show you how to do it with Bootstrap and Bootstrap classes. So kind of the same end result, but we're going to get there a slightly different way, although it's very similar, you'll see. But just to give you a couple of different ideas on how you could do this. So let's get started. First, I'll tell you what I have. So I'm using Google Chrome, and I'm also using VS Code. I have just a folder called Center a Div, and I added an index.html file and a styles.css file. In fact, I'm going to expand this, just so you can see a little better. And I just I'm using Emmet, and I typed HTML5. In fact, I'll show you. Let me delete this. If you have Emmet installed, you just type HTML and select HTML5, and it gives you a boilerplate, but I already have that. And I have the styles file, which I'm going to bring in right now with a link, and I'm going to put styles.css just so we can get that. And actually, while I'm at it, no, you know what? I'm not. Forget that. Okay, so let me delete this H4. And you're going to see the HTML is pretty simple. It's just going to be a couple of divs, and then maybe I'll add some text in there just for some visual representation. All right, so let's get started. So basically, what we're going to be using is Flexbox, and if you Google Flexbox tricks, there's a really great blog. Here it is. The CSS tricks. This explains it really well. If you have any lingering questions, I'll leave this in the description below. But this really explains how to use Flexbox, but I'm going to show you, I'm going to give you a visual example. So first we're going to create a div. Now I'm using Emmet also, so I type div dot, and I'm going to call it, I'm going to give this a class of main. So I just do div dot, and it assigns the class of main. Then I'm going to do another div called inner, just so you can distinguish between the two, okay? And I'll put some text in here, H4, and I'll say div 1 or something like that. Okay, that's really all the HTML we need. Everything else is going to be handled in styles.css. If we go back to our thing, as you can see, there's no styles, but that's okay. We're on our way. So first, I'm going to reset all the margin and padding, which you want to do especially if you are using Bootstrap. So you just do an asterisk, which means everything. I'm going to set margin back to 0. I'm going to set padding back to 0. Okay. Next, we're going to do our dot main. Okay. Actually, let's put the other class in here, dot inner. Okay. And that's just for styling, just so you can see it. In fact, I'll style this. I'll say background color. We'll say pink. Yeah, sure, pink. And I'll just so you can tell the difference, we'll give it a text color of 333, which is like a dark brown. The heck, I'll say text align center, just to you know, just so you can see it. And I'll say min width 400 pixels, good enough. And we'll say min height, we'll say 400. We'll just make it an even square. Oops. Min height 400 pixels. Okay, great. Let's see what we got. There we go. That's fine. Good. Now, how do we center this div? Because as you can see, you know what? Let's just make this. Let's just make this. Let's just make this width and height. Sometimes you got to play around with it. Okay, fine. Good. That's fine. So the reason why it's a little sort of short blip up here, if you can see that, it's just a little small little line there, is because we got to style our main. Now the first thing we want to do is assign display flex. That's our first thing for Flexbox. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the height of the main div. We're going to set it to 100 viewport heights. And if you don't know what that is, basically picture your screen, whatever screen you're on, divided into 10 sections, right? Each section is a viewport height, right? So you can do 1, 2, 5, 10, 50, 100, and it'll divide it evenly up among the screen rather than saying 100%. And in fact, I'm going to also say width 100%. We're not going to get too crazy into CSS. I just want to show you how to center a div. So let's see what that looks like. Good. I'm also going to give this a background color of, let's say, beige, just so we can see the difference. Okay. Good. As you can see, this background color is a little different. Good. Now let's go back here. Now we got this display flex. I'm going to go right underneath that. I'm going to say this next one, justify content center. Let's see what that does. Now as you can see, it put it in the center on the, I think this is the y-axis. I always get those confused. Whoops. But if we look at our CSS under the justify content one, where is it? Flex wrap, flex shrink. There's a lot of stuff here. Oh, so justify content, it adjusts it left to right. And as you can see, there's all these different things. And you'll see I'm going to do 2 divs later on. Okay, so basically that's what justify content does. It moves it from left to right in the center. Okay, now let's go back. 400, whoops, sorry, that should be a colon. Now we want to align it vertically, which sometimes is the most difficult thing for people. Luckily, we have Flexbox, which all we have to do is align items in the center. Let's save that. And bingo, there we go. Your div is centered. Okay, now this text here is not centered, so we can change that. We can go to the inner display flex, and we can say align items center, because we already have text align center. And there you go. Right. Oh, I guess we also have to justify content center. There you go. And that, now you've centered that. Now, so that's it. So display flex, justify content, and align items. This stuff is you need the height, because you need to set the height. You know, if you set this height to say 90, that doesn't really matter. It would just center the div inside a 90. You know, if you get my meaning. So it doesn't matter. But 100 is pretty standard, especially for a background. Now let's add in a second div. See where we go from there. We'll call this div 2. Now they're going to be the same color. So on this inner, I'm going to put a margin. Margin top and bottom is going to be 0, and then the left and right I'll say 40 pixels. It doesn't really matter, just so you can see the difference. Actually, you know what? Let's throw a border on there. A nice dark black color, solid and thin, just so you can see some delineation between the divs. Let's see what we got. And here we are. So as you can see now, we got 2 divs. They're completely centered. They have some padding, of course, but that's the that's the padding we set. But as you can see, they're completely centered, and they're left to right, because Flexbox by default puts them in a row. If we had one more div, call this div 3. Div 3, as you can see, it would just continue to pile on and pile on and pile on in a row. Now, if you could do something like this, flex direction, and put them in a column, which is kind of how they would be stacked if you didn't use Flexbox. But as you can see, Flexbox puts them in a row, and I didn't give them any padding. I'm sorry, margin. So if you just made this 10 pixels, it would spread them out a little bit, as you can see there. All right, that's it for the vanilla CSS on how to center a div. Let's do you know what, I am going to go in here and I'm going to comment this out. I'm going to put all this into my GitHub account for you, link in the description, but let's do the Bootstrap one real fast. So I'm just going to I'm going to delete all these class names. And you can, when you go to use this, you'll know which one it is. Now, okay, now as you can see, there's no class names. And I just remembered we still do need some of the design aspects. So I'm going to, what should I do? You know what? I'm gonna say boot-inner just to change it up, because I don't want to delete the CSS. I don't want to delete any of the CSS for you guys. So I'm just going to name it something different. If it was the same, then we would have some issues. You know what? I'm gonna come up here. I'm gonna do something revolutionary. I'm gonna put the styling up here. Styling. I'm gonna say dot boot-inner, and then I'm just going to copy this this stuff here. Copy here, and you know what? Let me do this boot-main. I'm sorry, this should be boot-main. I'm just, because I still have some of this stuff, and actually we just need the background color. I'm sorry, background color and the height. You could set height in Bootstrap, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get into that. So let's do that here and delete this here. All right, now let's go get Bootstrap, because as you can see, we got some styling there, but not what we want. So I'm going to Bootstrap. I'm just going to grab the Bootstrap CDN. Oops, as you can see, I was looking up float right earlier, which is a really nice little thing to have. Bootstrap CSS, copy it, go into our index.html, just put it somewhere in the head, save all. And as you can probably see, things change a little bit, but don't worry about that. So let's go into here. Let's go into our index.html. Don't worry about this. That'll all be in the documentation. Okay, so we want our main div. We want it to have a boot main, right? Boot main 100. Yes, good. We want it to have a width of 100, so W-100. We want it to be a display flex, which is D-flex. We want to justify -content -center. I want to align items center. Oh, can't type. Center. Okay. Let's see what that gives us. Bingo. We're all the same. Now, like we had in here, we did basically the same thing. So I'm just going to copy this display flex, justify content. I'm going to add that to each one of these here. Save it. Let's see what we got. Bingo, just what we wanted. Now, if you wanted, it's flex dash column. It's flex direction row by default, but if you want a column, you would set flex column or flex row, but it's flex row by default. Let's see. That's it, guys. So 2 different ways to center a div. One with vanilla CSS and the other with a framework, a CSS framework. Now you could also do SCSS, but that's basically the same thing as CSS. Nothing would change in the SCSS or SAS. You would just write it out differently, but you would still use that. But anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video or you want to see different ways to center a div besides just vanilla JavaScript or besides using Flexbox, please let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video at all helpful, please leave a like. I would appreciate it very much. And if you have any follow-up questions, either check this blog out or leave a comment below and I will get back to you. That's it, guys. Thank you very much. Take care.